What's up everyone, this is Tech, and today I'm going to be showing you why the iPhone 5S is still a great device for 2018. So let's get started. So the iPhone 5S is one of my favorite devices. It has the coolest designs out of all of the iPhones, which is probably why Apple replicated the same design for the iPhone SE, just because it was that great of a design. The build quality on this phone is great. It's got a nice aluminum back with the nice glass for the top and bottom of the phone, acting as antenna bands. Although I did have an issue where the phone would actually bend, but I won't get into that in this video. So the reason I want to make a video on this phone is you can find these phones for as cheap as $60 to $70 in pretty decent condition, which I think is a steal. So what's great about this is it could be just a great backup phone, or if you want to get involved in the iOS community in a way, but maybe you don't have an iPhone, this could be a cheap alternative to get to know what it's like to use an iPhone, what the software is like, and get a feel for how iOS runs. Internet connection could be better on this phone, but it still gets the job done. It's probably 1 or 2 seconds slower than you'd expect, which isn't too bad. Now, something I do want to mention is the oleophobic coating that comes on every iPhone that makes the screen resistant to fingerprints has faded on the iPhone 5S just because it's been so old for so long. But if you notice on newer devices, the screens are more shiny. So every time you get a new iPhone, the screen's really shiny because the oleophobic coating hasn't worn off, which is also why your older devices you may notice get dirtier easier, is because that oleophobic is wearing off, and that is true for the iPhone 5S. The oleophobic has basically worn off, so you'll see fingerprints, scratches, and things like that very easily, so this will get scuffed up quite a bit. But another thing I want to mention is Touch ID is pretty good on this device. It's the first generation of Touch ID, and it's honestly just enough for me. I'm coming from a device that uses Face ID, and this is still just good enough for me. Face ID is obviously better, but for $80, this is a steal. The only complaint I have about this phone would be the keyboard. It's so hard to type on this, and it's truly amazing how back in the day people made fun of Apple for making the iPhone 5 too large, and going back from an iPhone 10 to this device, the keyboard is just way too tiny to even type on. Now, I have 3 iPhone 5Ss, and one thing I noticed in common with all of them was the screen occasionally did not recognize certain taps, but that may just be because of button sizes. So because of the smaller screen, you're going to have smaller buttons. So if you're coming from a really small phone and upgrading to the iPhone 5S, this isn't going to be an issue from you. But if you do have like an Android phone that might be older, but it's still larger than the iPhone 5S, this is going to be quite an adjustment for you to get used to. The buttons are kind of strange just because of the size, on how small they are, but you will get used to it over time. But the same can be said if you go from maybe an iPhone 4S to an iPhone 5S and then jump to an iPhone 6S Plus, because that's exactly what I did back in the day, and I had to get used to it. Also, gaming on this phone, it's pretty good. Some games run way better than others. For example, that game you saw me playing earlier while I was explaining the keyboards runs very well on the iPhone. It's called Guns of Boom. But this game, Asphalt 9, has a little bit of lag, and it even crashed when I was playing it earlier before I recorded this video. So you will get occasional frame drops in video games, which is to be expected for an $80 phone. I mean, for what you're getting, this thing is a great device. So if you're looking to do gaming on this, I'm not saying you're not going to be able to play video games, but expect the phone to heat up and for battery to drain really fast. The only time I would consider playing a game on this would be to turn off low power mode and to plug in your device, and then maybe I would recommend it if you're okay with your device heating up. But other than that, software animations, the stability on iOS 12 has really brought new life into this device and could probably make it go into the year 2020. I know how crazy that sounds, but I think this device can make it, and this will be probably the longest lasting iPhone of them all. It's weird to say that just because we've seen smartphones get so much larger, so much faster, and so many more improvements, and to have this device that came from 2013 lasting all the way up to 2020 is just a crazy idea. Now, Apple might discontinue it by 2019, but it's okay to go a year without updating to the latest version of iOS if you're low on a budget, because this phone will still get the job done. You can still use Snapchat, you can still use Facebook, who uses Facebook, I don't know, but this thing also has a pretty good camera. Now what's great about this is I mentioned that you can find this for a great deal online, and I typically go on eBay for all my devices and I buy them used. So you can do that as well. I typically use the buy it now option so I don't have to bid, and then I search by price. So you're going to have to be careful, you're going to have to be picky because you don't want to pick a device that's iCloud locked or a device that's completely damaged, and you want to make sure you test the device for water damage by testing out the speakers and charging. That is about it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Overall, I'd say this is a great device to use in 2018 if you're just trying to get introduced into iOS and see what it's like, or maybe if you just started making money and you're a kid and you want a brand new phone, go ahead and shoot for this device. I think it's a great device. It's personally one of my favorite iPhones, and this is coming from an iPhone 10 user. Anyways, that's about it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, peace.